Hello everyone, kumusta ka? How are you? My name is Drew Rada, the National President for FACES, and it is my pleasure to greet you all today by introducing our newest initiative, the Philippines Cultural Learning Series. First though, on behalf of FACES, Filipinos, and Filipino Americans, I would like to wish you all a happy Philippine Independence Day today. Today is a key date in Filipino history, and it's for this reason why we're hosting our FACES Cultural Series kickoff meeting today. I do have another announcement to mention, and that's our very own executive sponsor, Senior Vice President Jennifer Robertson, is here today and has graciously joined us. She's a big advocate of STEM and ERGs, so it's my esteemed honor to introduce you all to her. Jen, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Awesome. Thanks for coming down. Okay, hopefully y'all can hear me okay. I just wanted to give a couple of messages as you kick off your new cultural transformation series. The first one, I think I tell y'all every time I get a chance to meet with some of you, and that's thank you for your engagement. It takes your own time, it takes your own energy to decide to go and find other places to apply your skills and other places to get engaged. So thank you for committing to that. As a company, it's something we're proud of. And so when we were talking about how do we want to kick this session off and what are the key messages that as you're thinking about not only the culture series, but your involvement in FACES, what are the pieces you should take with you? And the first is, as a company, we pride ourselves on diversity and inclusion. It's why we have the involvement in employee resource groups like we do. It's why all of you are here. It's why we continue to be in the top 10 on Diversity Inc.'s companies that are best related to diversity and inclusion initiatives. And we wouldn't get that type of a rating if you weren't involved in activities like this, if we weren't seeking to continually understand each other better. And I think your culture series is a really great way to do that because you're making it to understand cultures better, to share that with other people. And so I applaud that effort as well. Drew mentioned the way I tend to get out and get involved and really drive a lot of diversity, separate and apart from trying to help FACES however I can, is in the STEM space. And I do a lot of work, particularly with women and diverse women in STEM. So I know what it takes to dedicate your time to another initiative when you've got a lot of things on your plate. The other thing that I really wanted to talk about is volunteerism. So as the early group came and talked to me about FACES and the tenets that the ERG prides itself on, it was really a feeling that one of those is volunteerism. And so I thank you for that as well. It's even more of your time that you're committing out there. It's engagement with the community. And it's people and groups like this that give us such a strong brand as we go out in our communities and as we go out and talk to our customers. I don't know how many of you are in the communications company, but for our new operating structure, those of you that are in what we lovingly call COMCO, you may have heard recently John Donovan talking a lot on town halls and in press releases. You can go and look at his interview with Sean Combs from the AT&T SHAPE conference. And there's a lot of conversation around going local. And how do we get out there with our communities? How do we make sure the initiatives we have around hiring, around onboarding, different policies and practices that we have support the diversity of the local communities we serve? And so I just feel like as we talk about volunteering out in the community, understanding cultures better, and supporting diversity and inclusion, this group that you're starting right here and this series that you're starting right here hits on all fronts. So it's like a grand slam home run. For those that like baseball, I'm not really a big baseball fan, but that's the analogy I can think of. You're hitting on all cylinders with this series as you kick off. And so I appreciate what y'all are doing. I'm happy to help any way I can. And I would just encourage you to continue to push us on how we think about involvement with ERGs, but also out in the communities we serve. That's my big opening and my big thank you and my big stay engaged request.
Thank you very much, Jen. We really appreciate it. That was a great talk. Next up, I just want to talk about, I guess, what we'll be discussing today. Today we'll be going over session number 1, which is geography, history, dance, fashion, clothing, and cuisine. And before we start, I just wanted to turn the mic over to Mr. Jorge Sevilla. Jorge Sevilla is the chapter PRO for the FACES PNW chapter, and he's based in Seattle or Bothell, Washington. Jorge, the floor is yours. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate everything that you said, and I'm extremely privileged and honored to be part of this ERG group. So very quickly, a little bit about me. I am a third-generation Filipino-American here in Seattle, and I just wanted to kind of give a little personal note that this involvement with the Faces ERG has really not only made me connect more with AT&T employees that I probably otherwise wouldn't, but it's also been a bridge to connect back with my culture, having been born here in the States and raised here in Seattle, and a little distant from my cultural background, but it's been great to just get back involved and become more engaged. So with that, geography of the Philippines. For those of you who do not know, the Philippines are located in the western Pacific Ocean. I've got a couple visuals here to just really narrow it down to you. So as you see from this wide view, obviously there's our flattened map. So you see that speck there in the middle, Manila, there's the Philippines, which is north of Australia, east of Vietnam or Southeast Asia, and south obviously of China and Japan. So as we dig in deeper here, you'll notice, other than it looking like a turtle, as we used to always call it, turtle with long legs when I was a kid, the Philippines are actually, as you can tell, it's a series of islands. In fact, over 7,600 islands make up the Philippines. The largest of these islands, as you'll soon see here, the three islands are Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And those, obviously, Luzon in the north, Visayas in the central part of the Philippines, Mindanao in the south. So just a quick trivia question to see how many people actually might know this. Does anyone know how they are visually represented on the Filipino flag?
The stars.
That's right.
Stars.
Whoever yelled that. It's the three stars. So the three stars on the Filipino flag represent those three major islands. So the Philippines are also divided by regions and then provinces. So it's not necessarily states like they do here, but you would know you would be identified by your region, then your province. And the Filipinos are considered Austronesians, which I just recently learned. I've never heard that term. And Austronesians are basically populations that derive from Asia, Oceania, and Africa. As you can see by that map, you kind of see the migratory theory of how the Filipino people came to the islands, which was pretty much over 67,000 years ago. They have first traces of humans existing on the Philippine Islands 67,000 years ago. I wanted to point out this mural that is in a museum in a gallery in Manila, which is called the Sining Sese Project, and it's a huge project with these gigantic murals that were developed by an artist. So if you're ever in Manila, you may want to look this up, and you can see some of the indigenous folks on that map. So, like I say, there is a unique craft called a balangay boat. It's not unique only to the Philippines. It's unique to Southeast Asia, but they have found traces of these dating back to 320, and this craft alone was responsible for helping become a major developmental piece of the Filipino culture. Obviously, with all the islands, needed some modes of transportation to get around. So not only was it used for transportation, but as you can see in that drawing, it was basically a home. It was used for trade. It was used for industrial purposes. That was these boats were basically a key component in how the Filipino culture developed. So the Islamic movement began in the early 14th century. There's theory that Arabs did actually make it to the island and may have traded or made their way to the Filipino Islands, which had an influence on obviously introducing the Islamic movement. But before 1520, the Philippines also traded with China and Japan and some of the neighboring countries around, which to this day there is still an influence. You will still see some remnants of the Chinese and Japanese culture. But the core colonization, I suppose we could say, is from when Ferdinand Magellan sailed to the Philippines in 1521. And so he was the first, we say, European explorer to develop, I guess, claim territory in the name of Spain, even though he was Portuguese, claim territory for for Spain at that time. And we have a trivia question on that for people who may know a little bit about the history of the Philippines. There is a famous folk hero. Well, he was real, but his name is Lapu-Lapu. And does anyone know why he was famous in regards to Magellan? And you look at this strapping young man, you'll notice a sword and a shield in his hand. He was a warrior, and he was actually, there was a rebellion, and he was the one who slayed Magellan. So he is considered to be the first national hero of the Philippines, Lapu-Lapu. The Spanish obviously had a huge influence on the Philippines. They were basically, the Philippines was a colony of Spain for over 300 years. You can definitely see that in the culture, in the architecture, and the people still today. And it wasn't until 1898 that the Philippines gained their independence from Spain, but of course they became a U.S. territory at the time, which is the result of why there is such a strong relationship between the U.S. and between the Philippines. The Philippines, most people don't realize what became the first and only U.S. colony in 1898. And that picture there is a picture of Manila in the kind of the turn of the century. Now, in 1941, of course, World War II broke out, or maybe it was before that, but in 1941, Japan did occupy the Philippines, and they occupied them for a series of 4 years. And this is the infamous speech that General MacArthur gave when he departed the Philippines in retreat, and was noted, of course, as saying, "I shall return." And he did return. They returned in 1945 when the U.S. Army did come back to the Philippines and reclaim the islands. And that's actually a picture of him returning to the Philippines. So as Drew had mentioned, June 12th is celebrated as Independence Day, but July 4th is actually what we know as Philippine-American Friendship Day. So they do actually recognize July 4th in the Philippines as well. So very strong relationship, obviously, between the Philippines and the U.S., despite sometimes acidic words from the current president of the Philippines who said certain things that weren't exactly friendly. But in general, the Filipino people have much affection for their American partners. So the next slide here, I'm going to talk about a little bit of some fun facts, or pun packs, as my grandparents used to say with their traditional accent. So I'm going to cover languages and demographics, and in the upcoming series we'll always be sharing a couple more of these fun facts. So languages, so there are over 170 languages and dialects spoken in the Philippines. It gets pretty complex. There are some folks who actually speak a totally different dialect in different parts of the country. The official language, though, is Filipino, which is primarily Tagalog-based. So most of what you will hear, even in the States, if you hear someone speaking, most likely it's Filipino that they're speaking. So, and obviously with the Spanish colonization for 300 years, the Spanish language was influential as well. It was the official language. You will obviously see that many Filipinos have traditionally Spanish last names. Obviously, my name, Jorge Sevilla. I am not Spanish, but I have a Spanish name. So, English is the current medium that's used in education, though. The stat I've found was that the Philippines is the third largest English-speaking country in the world. Demographics in the U.S. So, many people probably don't realize, but the Filipinos are the second largest Asian group in the U.S. As of 2010. There's 3.2 million of them, followed by the Chinese at 3.8. Sorry, we follow the Chinese at 3.8. The largest Asian group of Filipinos is in California, I believe at the time. It's heavily concentrated in the southern part of California and in the Bay Area, which is where Tim Turner is. And the second largest Asian group in New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco are Filipinos. Again, this is all based on 2010 data, but you tend to think it's probably still accurate. And that brings me to turn it over to Alana, who will talk about traditional Filipino dances.
Thanks, Jorge. Hello, everyone. My name is Alana Holman, and I'm representing the Atlanta chapter. And I'll be sharing you a high-level overview of a few traditional Filipino dances so that you become familiar. After this presentation is posted and shared out, you'll be able to watch these dances and on your own, as Connect does not give the full effect of how great these dances are. But before I get started, I just wanted to share a little bit why this topic hits close to my heart. I became more involved in my Filipino community and the culture when I went to college. I'm an alum of Florida State University, and during my time there, I joined our Filipino Student Association and our traditional dance group, and then eventually I became our dance director and added a couple more dances. I had never been involved with Filipino dance. I had been trained in other art forms like ballet, tap, and jazz, so this was a really great time in my life where I got to merge my passion for dance with a love of my mom's side of my culture. Coming up on the next slide, I just wanted to touch on the Bayanihan National Dance Company in the Philippines. They're very instrumental in not only the preservation of choreography, but also promotion around the world for the last 6 decades of Philippine dance. Many dance groups here in the United States, we use choreography from the Bayanihan and the recorded music, as most of our instructors were either dancers with the Bayanihan or had been trained by those who were. So they're very instrumental, and whenever they come back to the United States, I really recommend you seeing their productions. And then on to the next slide, I'm going to start taking you through different dances, and I'm going to point them out on the map to you so you know where they are from and reflect back on the geography that we just learned. So first, I'm taking you down south to Mindanao, and you'll see this dance looks very different than the rest of the dances I'll be presenting, as more of the Islamic influences were on the southern end of the Philippines in Mindanao. This is Singkil is the name of the dance, and it's a story of a princess, and she looks very regal there with her fans. She's accompanied by her servant with that parasol in the background, and you'll notice that there's bamboo poles crisscrossed on the floor, and the rhythm is very slow at first with the dance, and as it progresses, the rhythm gets faster and faster, and the princess must navigate through it. And that's representing this earthquake that in the story these spirits cause. And so she has to be very graceful and very solemn and regal as she's performing. It's a really great production. It's really visually appealing. So as we learned in our history, we were a Spanish colony for quite a few hundred years, and so much of our music and dance stems from that, and you'll learn a little about the clothing in this photo as well after this segment. So this is Cariñosa. It is a Spanish-influenced courtship dance. When you listen to it, there's Spanish guitars and mandolins playing in the background. And it's from the Visayan region, the island of Panay, which is also where my family is from. And it's a really cute dance, hide and seek. The lady tries to be modest with her fan and covering her face, and the gentleman tries to take a peek because he's trying to be flirty. And there's also some hide and seek with the handkerchief as well. And just as an aside, this is my dance group from college, and I'm on the left-hand side of the photo. I'm going to take you up north to Mindoro, which is in the Luzon region. This is Pandango sa Ila, or the Dance of Lights, and this just really demonstrates how great Filipinos are at balancing everything in life, including candles on top of our heads and on the back of our hands. This is a really beautiful dance that's performed during festivals and now on the stage. It looks really great with the shimmering lights. Almost looks like fireflies at night when you watch it on stage. And then we'll continue on to the fourth and final dance that I will be touching upon, just Tinikling. You cannot have an introduction to Filipino dance without talking about Tinikling. It's one of the more dynamic dances that we have. I think it's so recognizable throughout the world. I have met people who know what I'm talking about if I describe it or show a picture, but had no idea it was Filipino or what it was called. I've met people from different areas of the United States have said that they've learned this in their gym classes, but instead of bamboo poles, they used PVC pipes to dance in and out of. So it's a really great and fun dance. It's played with, of course, the Spanish guitars and mandolins in the background. And as you can see in the picture, there's a pair of bamboo poles that the dancers must weave in and out of. and they have to be as nimble and fast as this bird that this dance is mimicked after. And this tickling bird went through the rice fields, the rice paddies, and the farmers had traps out there. So the farmers would see these birds be really nimble and quick and move their feet quickly out of there. So the dancers must do the same. The rhythm of the bamboo poles on the ground, it's 2 beats tapping on the ground and 1 beat closing. So the dancers have 2 beats to dance within the poles and one beat to step out of them without getting their feet caught. As you get more advanced in learning this dance, the dancers like to add speed, rearrange the bamboo poles in different formations, and they get really competitive with each other. With my dance group, we even took it to another level and created a hip-hop version. You can do a hip-hop tinikling, so it's really a beloved dance that people love to perform. And on the last slide for the dance section, I just want to remind you to please go out and look at the YouTube links that I selected for the dances. If there's the top one out of the 4 that I just would say be tinikling if you haven't seen it already. And now I'm going to pass it on for you to learn about Filipino fashion and clothing with Rachel. So thank you.
Thanks, Alana. I really appreciate that. So as she mentioned, I will just be going over some of the history and descriptions of the traditional Filipino clothing. And just an FYI, I am from Bedminster in Jersey, and I am the Northeast Chapter Public Relations Officer. So if we go ahead and move on to our next slide, we'll see that, as Jorge mentioned earlier, the Filipino people have lived under the occupation of other countries for centuries. So United States, Spain, and Japan have had the biggest impact on the traditional clothing of the Philippines. Because of this, the national attire was formed under the influence of different cultures. We also have the fact that, it's a hot climate, cultural traditions, foreign conquerors, and the lifestyle. These things have contributed to the Filipino traditional clothing. Legend also has it, back one slide, Kim. Legend also has it that the Spaniards have forced the natives to design the barongs transparently without pockets and to wear them untucked to prevent them from concealing weapons or engaging in thievery. So that's something that it's been culturally made aware, but there's no historical background, so it's something you can kind of decide for yourselves, I guess. If we go to the next slide, the barong, Tagalog, is the men's national costume, and that was designated as the national attire by President Ferdinand E. Marcos 75. So the word barong literally means dress of. The barong is a tunic or a shirt with long sleeves, so you can see that in the picture here, or sometimes it's just short sleeves, and you usually wear a plain shirt underneath because it's transparent. And it can be worn with different kinds of trousers or even a wraparound skirt if you're feeling fancy. The earliest known fact about the barong was that the Tagalogs who lived in the island of Luzon, they wore those barongs that evolved from pre-Hispanic native wear over the course of more than 4 centuries. So throughout its evolution, the various factors influence the look. We have the primarily long lines of the Chinese, very tropical appearances of the Indo-Malay costume, and elongated effects of the Hindu dressing, as well as the ornamental restraint of the European men's clothing. So you can see there's kind of a mix of influence of the different cultures here. And the fabric is richly embroidered, and it's mostly natural. We have pina, which is hand-woven from pineapple leaf fibers, juicy, which is machine woven from banana silk, and then banana fabric, which is hand woven from banana fiber. So earlier I mentioned that the barong was left untucked. Another source that it's tucked out is because of health reasons. The use of locally grown cloth made from pineapple or abaca fiber caused rashes and skin irritation. So sometimes they left the bronze untucked because of that. And then, of course, the country's tropical climate also favored clothes that were untucked. Here's a couple of examples of the barong Tagalog for the menswear. So you can see there's different styles. You can see some of the intricate designs here in the fabric. We'll go on to the women's national costume, which is prominently known as the tierno, which comes from the Spanish word to match. And this makes sense because the Filipino tierno alludes to the matching of the blouse and skirt joined at the waist to form a one-piece creation with both the bodice and the skirt made of the same material. So the tierno, as we know it today, evolved from an ensemble called the Barat Saya, which means blouse and skirt, and that transformed into the Maria Clara, which in turn turned into the Traje de Mestiza. So Maria Clara dress is actually an elegant formal outfit for women, and it's also considered a mestiza dress because it's an ensemble that combines the indigenous and Spanish influences. The Maria Clara dress became very popular during the Spanish era, since its emergence in 1890s, and then in the early 1900s, there was a new stunning Filipino costume that was created called the Traje de Mestiza, which was inspired by the United States influence, and so it was inspired by Hollywood movies, musicals, and magazines. And finally, on our next slide, we can see some of the FACES Northeast members rocking their barongs. That was during a gala that was hosted by the Inspiration ERG. If you look to the right picture over here, we can see Drew Rada, who's our national president, doing best dance move here. So just enjoy that while it's on the screen. And then we'll go ahead and please welcome Roz, who is the FACES Mid-Atlantic Chapter President.
Hello, and thank you for staying on with us. My name is Roz Mario, and I'm the Mid-Atlantic Chapter President for FACES. I first joined FACES to learn more about my culture and the history of the Philippines. I'm a first-generation Filipino-American, born in Chicago, now living outside of Baltimore, Maryland. I am happy to talk about food, the Philippine cuisine. So we've got a little video that's going to come up here in a second. But everybody break out your rice cookers, get those fires rolling. We're going to talk about their food because the Filipino culture is all about our food. So the Philippine Islands are widely considered to be the melting pot of Asia. It's a mix of cultures, a mix of people, and the food is as varied as the people on the islands. So believe it or not, eating food and the gathering and partying and the events surrounding food, this is one of a Filipino's favorite pastimes. From the more traditional chicken or pork adobo, which is chicken or pork, vinegar, soy sauce, garlic, and oil, to the traditional roasted pig, which we call lechon, to the more friendly fried egg rolls known as lumpia, which I could eat by the dozen, very delicious, to the slightly different Filipino spaghetti. It's like regular spaghetti except a little bit sweeter, and a bonus if you have chopped up hot dogs in it. That's right, spaghetti and hot dogs, a Filipino favorite. You'll also find infamous balut. This is the boiled egg with the fertilized duckling inside. And yes, you have seen this before because if you watch Survivor or Amazing Race or any show that features international delicacies, you've seen balut, boiled egg with a fertilized duckling inside. For dessert, we have halo-halo, which literally means mix, basically shaved ice, and you throw whatever you want in there, fruit, beans, tapioca, to ube ice cream. It's purple, people. That's right. It's purple yam ice cream, ube ice cream. So as you can see, Filipinos enjoy a very wide range of foods. And on May 8th, Faces here in Mid-Atlantic partnered up with the Maryland chapter for Women of AT&T to host an international food festival. The event featured foods from Jamaica and Pakistan, Trinidad, the United States, and the Philippines. So we had over 100 people in attendance. It was a tremendous success. We featured chicken adobo, egg rolls, pancit, white rice, fried bananas. And as attendees waited for the food in line, we shared some of the fun facts or the pun packs that we learned today on the call already. In addition, the Filipinos traditionally eat with their hands or just with the spoons and forks because under Spanish rule, Filipinos were not allowed to have knives. Very dangerous for the Spanish. So we got used to eating with our hands or just the spoons and forks. They also learned about our favorite Filipino celebrities like boxing legend Manny Pacquiao, Alan Pineda from the Black Eyed Peas, pop superstar Bruno Mars, and the funny man Rob Schneider. So as you can tell, the Philippines and the food in the Philippines is a pretty big deal. There's always plenty to go around, and if you're not taking some home with you, what we call baon, you're not doing it right. So food is what brings friends and family together. And what's more important than that? Friends and family and food. So thank you so much. With that, I'm going to kick it back to our fearless leader, Drew. Drew, take it away. Thank you very much, Roz. Awesome presentation. And I just want to go on to our next section, which I believe is our closing. Oh, that's right. We are almost towards the end. Although, you know what, before I close this off, I do want to do a quick Q&A if anyone has any questions that they have. Does anyone currently on this call have any questions or any comments?
This is a silly question.
Sure.
As a Filipino American, when you're filling out a questionnaire, do you associate yourself as a Pacific Islander or an Asian?
Believe it or not, my favorite answer is Pacific Islander because if you look at the map, that's exactly what we are. We're Pacific Islander. I know a lot of people will consider us Asian and will denote us as Asian, but I truly believe, it's either other or it's Pacific Islander. If I could pick between the two, I would always pick Pacific Islander because if you look at, let's just say, folks that, belong to the other countries in the Pacific Ocean, that's exactly what they would, basically denote themselves as. If anything, I believe the correct answer would be Pacific Islander as opposed to Asian. Nothing against Asia. I love Asia, but guess what? Our culture doesn't exactly, mimic that of Asian countries. So.
Hey, Howard, this is Jan, and I'm actually from San Diego. And funny enough, my son just filled out college applications, and on the West Coast, we actually have a box that says Filipino. So for us, filling out our applications, it was a little bit easier to kind of check that box.
Thank you.
We got a question in the room for GFW. Yeah, thanks. It's Jim, and I have a question for the lady who did the piece on the dancing. So my question is for the dance that uses the bamboo poles. I can't remember how it's pronounced.
Cycling?
Yeah. So my question is, like I said in the room, it's a dumb question, but how do you practice that? I mean, because it looks like it could be painful if your timing's off.
Sure, of course. Thanks for your question. Of course, you need more than one person, but even if you don't, I would just line up two of the poles just laying on the ground or sticks or tape or whatever you have just to get the rhythm of it first. That's how we do it still, and having just the pole sit there so you learn the steps in and out, and then you do that with music, and then slowly as you introduce it to someone who is new, you keep the rhythm very slow, and you have some experienced people who do the clapping, the two people who are holding the ends of the sticks, and you just take it really slowly, but then you have to, just like riding a bike, you got to take off the training wheels and just try it. So you can't hesitate, and you just have to be really good about the rhythm of the song. And yes, of course, I've had a bruise or two learning it, but usually when you have a good set of folks who do the moving of the bamboo poles, you're in better hands. But if not, do it stationary and then keep practicing. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? These are good questions.
I don't have a question, but my grandchildren, my vegan friends, and my gluten-free friends love my homemade ube ice cream.
Oh, it's delicious.
Awesome.
So thank
Delicious.
Wait, who was that said that?
Eva Lucek.
Eva, because we want you on a future Lunch and Learn to demonstrate.
Oh. It's
You
very
can even just showcase homemade ube ice cream. I think that would be worth it. But yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Judy, it's Mary Grace. Quick question. Did you try that balut with Roman when you guys were in New York?
Yes, in fact, I did. I posted on Facebook, and because that picture became such a big deal. See, for me personally, eating balut, you know what? It's part of our tradition, it's part of culture. I know a lot of people think, it's rather gross and disgusting, but what people don't realize are the health benefits that come, with eating balut. Yes, it's a fertilized duck egg, but people forget though, is there are a lot of nutrients from that fertilized duck egg. In fact, it can help fight osteoporosis. It can help fight cancer. That and when it comes to protein, you're serving a protein, you're not going to beat a serving of balut. Be honest, you can eat, like a 32-ounce steak, but chances are you'll still get more protein from a balut than you will from a steak. So to me, it's, I don't know, for me, I would say it's an acquired taste. I've gotten used to it. I know a lot of people, they can't stomach the fact that they're eating a fertilized duck egg, but I would say if you've been in the Philippines and you know what, you're out late at night or you want something to cure your hangover, everyone knows you're not going to beat a balut when it comes to that. So that's, one of the other wonderful benefits regarding balut. So.
And true, that's a great segue into a future announcement, right?
Yes, that's correct. That's right, Tim. For those of you that are interested in balut and want to participate in a balut eating contest, please let us know. If anything, that's going to be a future fundraiser for us, a balut eating contest. Me and several board members I know are daring enough to try and, raise money by doing something like that. So if this is something that's of interest, please let us know. I would say this is something that you normally would just see on TV. So you know what, this is something we can definitely showcase to our members as well.
Yeah, can I add something about balut? This is Percy.
Yes, go ahead, Percy.
Go ahead, Percy. And congratulations, by the way, on your gold medal. That was very nice of you to post.
Yeah, I want to thank Drew, Eric, Kim, and Serena for supporting our team. And that was really fun. And we bested 35 other teams to win that gold medal. That was very exciting. Going back to balut, my age difference with my dad is 49 years, so we practically don't have anything in common. But that's the only thing we have in common is eating balut and drinking a bottle of beer when I was in my 20s. So yeah, I just want to share that because we really don't have anything in common except that.
So does that mean, Percy, you're going to be on our balut eating contest?
Sure, I can do that.
Excellent, thank you.
Now, you know what, though, in the food, I didn't see dinuguan. Was there any dinuguan?
I don't remember in the slides if in the video, but you know what, we'll send out the link and you can take a look again and see if it was there.
It wasn't there.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, but
Ooh, a controversial
Jorge knows
favorite.
what it is, yeah.
Chocolate meat.
Yep.
Also, with dinuguan, there's versions of dinuguan. The dinuguan from the Visayas is a little bit watery, and then the dinuguan from the north, like Ilocano dinuguan, is different. It's a little bit more dry, and the dinuguan in the part of the Tagalog region, they call it a different name. Sometimes they call it tinumis. So sometimes people say dinuguan. But if you really look at dinuguan a little bit in depth, you will notice the subtle differences of the Filipino cuisine. And some of us are dinuguan connoisseurs, and they say, oh, I like that dinuguan from that store, but I don't like that dinuguan from that other store. Yeah, that's my share.
Yeah. Oh, and lechon, and yum.
Lots of great ideas. Like I just saw calamansi juice, and then yeah, you know what? We'll definitely probably have to showcase dinuguan and possibly even you know, an adobo cooking session, since I know that's a video we're going to feature very soon too. You name it, all you guys are doing are making me hungry. You know, talking about puto and consinta, and oh wow, you know.
Yeah, for
Might as well add some turon while you're at it. Yeah, you know.
We'll keep that in mind for the next session that we have next quarter.
Oh, and a good alternative to meat, because I also have vegetarian friends, which I tell them vegetarian and Filipino just don't go together. But per request, I went and made some with tofu and veggies, and they loved it instead of meat. It's a good alternative to add for your vegetarian friends.
Yes, sisig and ginatan as well. Thank you. And kare-kare, of course, my favorite. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
I'm hungry now.
Yeah, for everyone on the West Coast, I know it's like lunchtime. So yeah, so this probably got your appetite going. So.
Hey Drew, could I mention about our Taste of Philippines that Midwest is hosting tomorrow, since everybody's talking about food?
Yeah, go ahead, Roman.
Sure. So Faces Midwest, we host a monthly Taste of the Philippines for our scholarship fundraiser. We sell a plate of pancit, barbecue sticks, egg rolls, and chop suey. So, you know, everybody's mentioning all this Filipino food, so already we're doing that monthly here in the Chicagoland area. And reach out to your chapters if you'd like to do those, something similar in your offices. So, thanks, Drew.
Roman, yes. Please participate in the Taste of Faces if it's being held in your area or your chapter or region. That's an event that many chapters do. So hopefully that's something you'll see more of as we try and promote our culture. I'm going to get started with the closing. I just want to first, I want to thank everyone for taking the time out of their busy schedule to join us today. It really means a lot, and on behalf of Faces, we really appreciate it. Please kindly log your volunteer hours for this event when you get the chance. I know that's something that we don't do often, so that's something I'm going to remind everyone to do. This is something we need, because as the smallest ERG, that's something I would say that we're quite behind in. So definitely log your volunteer hours and make sure that they're for Faces, because that's something that we really need and could better. Just so you all know, this wonderful initiative came to fruition at this year's ERG-EN Leadership Academy, where it was spearheaded and led by none other than Kim Turner, the chapter president for the Faces NorCal chapter. Kim put in a lot of time and effort into this initiative, so kudos to her for executing this in a fine and timely fashion. Special thanks goes to everyone in her committee. Yes, that means Jorge, Rachel, Alana, Donna, Roz. You know what? They all kicked butt with this. So special thanks to them as well. They all made this possible. So if you want to move on to the next slide, I just want to show everyone Kim's picture, and just letting her know that we're really grateful and thankful for what she's done. Thank you, Kim. Anything you want to mention or say, Kim? Because this is your baby, so thank you.
No, can't wait till the next one. We'll share a lot more.
Definitely. And, yeah, last but not least, maraming salamat. Many thanks to everyone, so thank you. I really appreciate it. This is fun. Until next time. Okay? Ingat.
Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.